Human beings are often described as one of the most cooperative species on Earth. Our ability to work together has allowed us to spread across every continent, survive dramatic climate changes, and build societies of extraordinary complexity. But cooperation has always come with a problem. Wherever people live together, conflict inevitably follows. Disagreements over resources, status, relationships, territory, and personal rivalries are not modern inventions. They are as old as humanity itself. Today, when conflicts arise, most societies rely on police, courts, written laws, and governments to maintain order. For the overwhelming majority of human history, none of these institutions existed. There were no judges to settle disputes, no prisons to punish offenders, no legal codes defining right from wrong. Yet ancient human communities survived for hundreds of thousands of years. This raises an important question. How did our ancestors resolve conflicts before civilization? The answer is surprisingly complex. Archaeological evidence suggests that violence has been part of human life for a very long time. Cave art from Upper Paleolithic Europe occasionally depicts wounded individuals, human figures pierced by spears, and scenes that may represent acts of violence. In caves such as Peshmerl and Cognac in France, researchers have identified images that appear to show human beings struck by multiple weapons. Although interpretations vary, these images suggest that conflict was familiar enough to be represented in art. Similar evidence appears in the skeletal record. Throughout prehistoric Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas, archaeologists have uncovered human remains bearing signs of healed fractures, blunt force trauma, and weapon injuries. Some individuals survived these wounds, while others clearly did not. The existence of such injuries demonstrates that violence occurred, but it does not necessarily tell us how common it was. This distinction is important because the popular image of prehistoric life often swings between two extremes. On one side is the idea that early humans lived in peaceful harmony with nature. On the other is the image of constant warfare and brutality. The reality was likely somewhere in between. During much of the Paleolithic period, human populations were extremely small. Around 35,000 years ago, the entire population of Europe may have numbered only a few thousand individuals spread across enormous distances. Most people lived in small bands consisting of perhaps 20 to 40 members. These groups depended heavily on cooperation. Hunting large animals, gathering food, caring for children, protecting the sick, and surviving harsh winters all required people to work together. Under these conditions, unresolved conflict could be dangerous. A serious dispute might weaken the entire group. The loss of even a single skilled hunter could reduce the chances of survival for everyone else. For this reason, many anthropologists believe that prehistoric societies developed social mechanisms designed to reduce tensions before they escalated into violence. One of the most important of these mechanisms was reputation. In a small community, everyone knew everyone else. There was little opportunity to hide dishonest behavior or escape a damaged reputation. Acts such as stealing food, refusing to share resources, or repeatedly creating conflict would quickly become known to the entire group. Modern hunter-gatherer societies provide valuable insight into how such systems may have functioned. Studies of contemporary foraging communities show that gossip plays a major role in regulating behavior. Although gossip is often viewed negatively today, anthropologists have argued that it serves an important social purpose. It allows communities to identify trustworthy individuals, discourage selfish behavior, and maintain social cohesion. In essence, information becomes a form of social control. Individuals who consistently violated group norms risked losing status, trust, and support. This may have been one of the earliest forms of punishment. Rather than relying on formal institutions, prehistoric groups often relied on social pressure. People who behaved badly could find themselves excluded from important activities, denied opportunities to participate in hunts, or treated with suspicion by others. Such consequences could have serious implications in societies where survival depended on cooperation. In extreme cases, individuals might even be expelled from the group entirely. Exile is often regarded as one of the harshest punishments used by small-scale societies. To a modern person, being told to leave a community may not sound particularly severe. Yet for prehistoric humans, expulsion could be catastrophic. Outside the protection of the group, an individual faced predators, disease, injury, and food shortages alone. The loss of social support dramatically reduced the chances of survival. Anthropologists have therefore suggested that the fear of exclusion may have been a powerful force shaping human behavior throughout our evolutionary history. However, not all conflicts ended in exclusion. Evidence from hunter-gatherer societies indicates that reconciliation was often preferred whenever possible, because every adult contributed valuable labor, knowledge, and experience. Communities had strong incentives to repair damaged relationships rather than permanently remove members. Disputes could be resolved through discussion, mediation by respected elders, compensation, or other forms of conflict resolution. Maintaining group unity was often more beneficial than pursuing revenge. Nevertheless, serious violence did occur. Anthropological research has shown that many acts of lethal violence in small-scale societies stem from personal disputes rather than organized warfare. Jealousy, romantic rivalries, insults, status competition, and revenge frequently appear as motives. Such findings suggest that prehistoric violence was often deeply personal. It was less likely to involve large armies and more likely to involve individuals who knew each other well. This perspective may help explain some of the violent imagery found in prehistoric art. Rather than depicting battles between large groups, some scenes may represent individual acts of aggression, remembered events, or stories passed down through generations. Others may have carried symbolic or ritual significance that is now impossible to fully understand. Ultimately, the archaeological record reveals that conflict was an unavoidable part of prehistoric life. Yet, it also reveals something equally important. Human survival depended not on eliminating conflict, but on managing it. The ability to cooperate despite disagreements may have been one of the defining characteristics of our species. Long before laws, governments, or courts existed, human communities were already developing ways to maintain order, discourage harmful behavior, and preserve social bonds. In many respects, the foundations of modern society may have been established around campfires tens of thousands of years ago, when small groups of people learned that cooperation was often more valuable than conflict. Perhaps the most surprising thing about prehistoric conflict is that violence was rarely the goal. In small communities, survival depended on cooperation, which meant that maintaining relationships was often more important than winning arguments. A hunter who was injured, a parent caring for children, or an elder carrying valuable knowledge all depended on the support of others. As a result, many disputes were likely resolved through social pressure, negotiation, or reconciliation rather than constant violence. This doesn't mean prehistoric life was peaceful, but it does suggest that our ancestors understood something important. A group divided by endless conflict was less likely to survive than one that could find a way to work together. In that sense, one of humanity's greatest achievements may not have been learning how to fight, but learning when not to.